to start with the Think Like an Owner meeting. We got 25 minutes to get out of here at 8 o'clock. And the topic today is becoming a relentless craftsman. So we talk about craftsmanship a lot. So what does it mean to become a relentless craftsman? If there's one thing we want to remember from today, we're going to come back to, we all have natural or learned ways in which we work and problem solve. Working as a relentless craftsman actually is going to lead to more opportunity, more trust, and more impact. And coming back to this, we all have natural or learned ways in which we work and problem solve. It's what we call our default mode. We all have like a default mode in what we can get into when we're locked in, and it's based upon our nature. Like, we're all born with different gifts and abilities. If you've ever taken a personality assessment here or somewhere else, you know that like we're all wired a little bit different just in the way we're made, the way we think through things. And then we also have nurture. It's the environment we've been in. It could be the environment we grew up in, the work experiences we bring to our work here. But those two factors kind of make our current default mode. And right now, we all have a default mode based upon our nature or our nurture. There's this phrase that says, to a man with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So if I've been trained or if I have a natural disposition to be good at hammering, then every problem in life looks like a nail to be pounded down. And that's actually can be really good, but it does have its limitations. So if I'm really good with my mind, then I think every problem needs to be thought out with my mind. And that can be really good, but it can be limiting because I could like not actually get the work done, or I could overanalyze things and I just can't get it to completion. I could be really good with my hands. I'm really good at putting a tool in my hands, doing something, but without any mind, I could actually work very ineffectively or make mistakes. And so I think to be a craftsman, we want to be strong with our minds and our hands, and we'll talk about why that's craftsmanship. But to think about this solution of to a man with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, we have this, which was made by Kyle, so thank you for making this. And we have a nail in wood, and sometimes that is the solution. That's the solution, is you hammer that nail. But as soon as I get to a problem I haven't solved before or a new solution, I see a piece of metal sticking up from the wood, and I also think that's a nail. Like, oh, I know how to solve that, a hammer. Well, that's actually not the right tool for that. I actually need a different type of tool or a different type of thinking. I actually need open-ended wrench. What's a close-ended wrench? So I realized that if I hammer this hard enough, will this go down? Yeah, I'm probably sure I can do that. And that's what it looks like. Oh, I know how to solve this problem. I'll just hammer that down. And then somebody tells me, hey, that was actually a bolt. You damaged that. Like, that's actually not good. We can't get it out now. And so I have to know that a different thinking puts it into a bolt, and I need to use a closed end or an open-ended wrench to close that or to pivot it. And now all of a sudden, I'm more equipped. I have two ways to think through problems. I have my hammer, I have my closed-ended wrench, but then I get to a solution that neither one works. My open-ended wrench doesn't work, my hammer definitely doesn't work, and I realize I actually have to have a screwdriver solution. And so this solution is a different way to think. Now I'm thinking, oh, now I'm more equipped. I have three methods. Okay, now I have three methods of thinking. I got a hammer again, or a nail again. I know how to solve this problem. I solved it over here. I'm just going to hammer that nail. But then I find out there's actually a water pipe underneath that nail. And my thinking concept actually made it worse than if I wouldn't have done anything. The solution in this case wasn't to hammer a nail. It was to actually remove the nail. And so we've probably all had experiences in our life where we thought our thinking or our equipping in life was the solution to the problem, to come to find out that was actually a really dumb way to operate. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is these different models of thinking that we can bring to our work to be craftsmen, and then what it looks like to be relentless craftsmen. So it doesn't mean that any way in which we've been trained is bad. So for example, I didn't grow up around a lot of hammer and nails type stuff. Actually, my dad worked on cars. I grew up around racing, so everything was like kind of bolts, wrenches, ratchets, stuff like that. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, metric, standard. I learned at an early age that standard measurements are for Americans and metrics are for communists. But I didn't grow up around these other methods. So to me, this is a pretty common tool. To other people, like Arnie, he's probably much more inclined to use hammer and nails or screws because that's what his job requires. He probably doesn't do a lot of bolts. And so we all have these experiences we bring, and that's good. We just have to understand that there's actually more methods than just our original thinking concept. And so we get to craftsmanship. And I'm defining craftsmanship as mind before action. So instead of just jumping in, grabbing the hammer and nailing, I'm just gonna pause, I'm gonna think, I'm gonna say, is this the best solution before I proceed? And that's craftsmanship. It's just thinking the mind before the action. And I think it's skillful and thoughtful work done with care, precision, and responsibility. Sometimes it's hard to define, but we can always feel when something's been put together in a craftsman-based way. I think the meal back there is put together in a craftsman-based way. I think this meeting has been assembled in a craftsman-based way. Even this benefits guide, this is the first time I saw this, and recognizing that our provider put this together and put our logo on it, it looks pretty clean. So they did a good job for us putting that together. And so you can recognize when things are put together pretty well. And craftsmanship says, I'll do it right. Now the relentless craftsmanship, now this is something beyond craftsmanship. Relentless craftsmanship makes you hard to compete with, and it's also craftsmanship at scale. So the most powerful outcomes come from teams. Craftsmanship can be kind of a solo sport. Craftsmanship, relentless craftsmanship is coming from teams. And we are all part of a team here. We have to go execute on jobs that none of us could do independently or alone, that the only way to achieve that goal is with teams. And the best craftsmanship that we've ever seen, for me personally, I love buildings, I love the environments and the interiors we get to be a part of. And every one of those I ever appreciate, I recognize that that can never be done alone. It has to be done with a group of people. So the most powerful outcomes come from teams, and craftsmanship up here is skillful thought work done with care, precision, and responsibility. That means me independently, I can hammer that nail, I can get better at being accurate with it. This is one kind of hammer, there's smaller hammer, there's bigger hammers, it's knowing which hammer to use. But relentless craftsmanship comes from actually impacting the process, impacting the culture, and impacting the training. And this, where craftsmanship says, I'll do it right, relentless craftsmanship says, we will do it right together. And that's what I believe we're part of here at Dancer is relentless craftsmanship. I can be a relentless craftsman. The thing with teams is we have great outcomes. We can get to goals that we could never get alone. But the problem with teams are the people on the teams. That doing things with people does bring additional complexity. It does bring more challenges, but the outcomes are much, much greater. And so I've noticed a pattern with relentless craftsmanship. And I believe it follows a pattern of intention. Intention means how we get started, how we prepare. Concentration, it means I'm going to focus on the work, I'm going to stay concentrated on it. Completion, because it doesn't count if there's no results, you have to get stuff done. And then mastery, that this cycle of intention, concentration, and completion is the cycle we go through all the time. The benefits package, for example. Chelsea had to have an intention, hey, there has to be some kind of change. Concentration, I have to meet with all these providers, I have to dig through the Excel spreadsheets, I have to seek feedback. Completion, I have a deliverable to the team. Like that's a cycle of relentless craftsmanship. Every one of the jobs we do also go through that cycle. There's an intention, there's a meeting with a client, there's making a plan, there's ordering the product, there's a concentration there. We're in the work, we gotta stay concentrated. There's a completion, you gotta deliver, there's a closeout day that we're all pointing towards. And we go through these cycles of projects or work through this intention, concentration, and completion. And then mastery is this idea of, hey, this cycle is gonna start and stop all the time with different projects and different work. Mastery is looking at from an outside perspective and saying like, all right, how do we get better? How do we think differently based upon what we learned here so I can be a master in what I do? And all of us wanna work towards a path of mastery. It does take a long time. It never ends, but it continues to equip you so every time you go through that cycle, you're better and better. And so we're gonna go through each one, and I got 4 points for each one. And the first one, intention. To me, one of the first things I do as far as an intention is a prayer. And prayer doesn't have to mean you have to be in a church, you don't have to be on your knees. But for me, it's when I start something, and I'll use an example as this board. When I am working on this board, before I presented this morning, I got here and it's a quiet moment. I say, God, please, like center me, center my thinking, shut away the noise, and please let me do a really good job. Please let this be helpful to the people that hear it. Let it impact someone and be able to take something with it that they can grow and get better. And let this impact our business, that we can continue to grow and prosper and help the team be successful, and let our clients be the beneficiaries of that. And so that is just a prayer or an intention I start with before I do something. So it's a pause, it's a centering. It takes it away from thinking about myself and thinking about how my work might impact others. Show up prepared. Show up prepared is you got to be a person that shows up. There's a lot of people that talk. Being a person that shows up is important. And then prepared for what the day brings. And so to me, that could be mentally prepared to sit here for an hour and learn. It could be, if you're a craftsman, having your pen, knife, and Sharpie ready to rock and roll. It could be having your boots on. It could be making sure your truck's ready to go, but we got to show up and be prepared for what's coming up. Part of intention is you have to decide too. There has to be decisions that are made. You're never going to have all the information. There's never going to be anything that's 100 before you start. You're going to have to, at some point, make a decision and then move forward. Diligence is this process of big or small craftsmanship in all. And whether we have a job that is really crappy, that requires a ton of physical work or mental work that really never shows up in a job that we can be like, show others about, or like isn't public facing, or if we do a job that's in the news, that no matter the job, whether it's big or small, public or private, that we're going to bring our best into it. And so no matter what, we know that we're going to bring our best to every task. And it could be vac and dust, it could be squeegeeing, that they're all important and they all require craftsmanship in them. So that's the intention piece. That's the getting started, getting pumped up, getting ready. And now we have the concentration. We get started. We got to stick with it. We get started, it's fun and exciting. We get going, it starts getting boring. Then the monotony starts kicking in. And then we want to give up and not show up anymore. And we got to stick with it all the way through. This is where we lose a lot of people. There's a lot of exciting things in our business. Day one is pretty fun. But when you're at Norwell for 9 weeks, that monotony kicks in. The same drive, the same system. And are we going to stick with it? Are we going to see it all the way through? We have to prioritize. There's always competing priorities for our time, our attention, what we need to focus on. And you could do all the same work, and you could work really hard with it, you could stick with it, but unless you prioritize the task in the right order, you could actually work really hard for very weak results. An example is, I'm gonna cook dinner tonight, and I'm going to make some baked chicken, I'm gonna warm up some frozen vegetables, and I'm gonna throw some bread in the toaster. Cooking this chicken is going to take an hour. Cooking the vegetables is 15 minutes, and cooking the bread is 2 minutes. So I need to actually start an hour before dinner. I want to present dinner to my family and get the chicken bacon. And then I'm going to set an alarm for 45 minutes, because when that alarm goes off, I'm going to then start warming up the vegetables. And then when we're almost to the end, I'm going to start plating the other things, and then I'm going to toast the bread because it only takes 2 minutes. If you toasted the bread first when you started the chicken, that bread would be hard and crispy and not delicious for mealtime. And so our work requires the same thing. We have to understand that these priorities come up, and we have to reposition our days based upon the prioritization of the work. Let's say, Jake, you probably have some idea of what your day looks like, and you probably have some meetings or some things that are delivered. But there's a pretty good chance that you're going to get a call today that something else is going to take a higher priority, and you'll have to reprioritize something, right? There's certain things that have to get done Friday. There's a deliverable, and there's probably some things like, oh, I know I need to get it done next week. I was hoping to get ahead today, but if something else comes up, then I need to position that and move it over. It's also, we're really good at prioritizing when it's like a coat day for epoxy. Like, you know, if you hit primer day, everything else kind of flows in line, and that kind of forces us to prioritize. Part of concentration is you just got to do work, and there's deadlines for the work. Craftsmanship is not romanticized. It is not precious, but it is precise. And every job we have, everything in the world has a deadline. And that's part of competing in the marketplace, is there's deadlines associated with our work. So to say like, we could do so much better if we just had more time or more time or more time, the world doesn't really operate like that. We operate in a world with deadlines. And we can think about ourselves as consumers. We love to get things done on time and quicker. Like I love when I order something and it shows up quicker than anticipated. I'm frustrated when it takes longer. And our customers feel the same way we do. I went through Chick-fil-A drive-thru last night. It was a really long line. I'm really glad that they move fast. I wouldn't be as excited if it took 15 more minutes. I'm glad that it took 5 minutes. And they have deadlines to hit as well. The world operates with deadlines, and we have to know that things need to get done in a certain amount of time. And when we bid jobs, people usually ask, how long will this take? We have actually lost jobs because the timeline we gave them was longer than a competitor's. And so getting quality work done, best work done within a deadline is really important. And we have discipline and self-discipline as part of concentration. Discipline is, we said, hey, we're gonna meet here at 7 o'clock for a meeting. We all showed up because we're counting on each other. There's a group dynamic, there's a social scenario where you don't wanna be the one that shows up late because then everybody looks at you and then Nick talks to you after the meeting. And so we all got here, we worked with some sort of discipline to get here at 7 o'clock. Self-discipline is a discipline inside your brain that nobody knows about, that you say you're gonna set a goal for yourself, you are going to or not gonna do something, and if you do that, no one knows except yourself. And I think to be the best craftsman, to be a relentless craftsman, is your goals and ambitions in your brain, you follow through with even if people don't know. So that we have intention, we have the concentration on the work, and then we have completion. We gotta get stuff done. If you just go through that intention and concentration cycle, but you never have a deliverable, you're stuck. You're not really delivering on craftsmanship. And so we're gonna start with extreme ownership. And extreme ownership means you own all the outcomes. So at the end of the day, if something goes bad, you say, hey, that's my bad. And I would say that any decision we make in the business, whether good or bad, there's gotta be some accountability that says, hey, when it's a win, we say, hey, it's the team. When it's a loss, we say, hey, it's my bad. I could have done better. And extreme ownership also goes to how likely is it if Chelsea said, hey, I'm gonna get that benefits package ready for the June meeting, and then she doesn't deliver on it. Do you think that builds or breaks trust? Breaks trust, yep. So if Chelsea says she's gonna do that, Chelsea and I have been working together for 2 years, I don't know, I don't have to follow up. I don't have to say, hey, how that benefits package coming along? Are we still gonna deliver it? She has shown through her experience that she's the type of person that delivers. She says, I got you, it's a done deal, there's no follow-up. If somebody feels like when you say you got them and they feel like they always have to follow up with you, that is not good, that's not taking ownership. And it's the little things too, and it's what maybe we call details, which we'll get into thoroughness, but a business is only a collection of details. Our lives are only a collection of details. So if a project leader says that they're gonna get a bid back to a client, hey, I'm gonna get that to you Tuesday, and then they give it to them Thursday, as a customer, do you feel more trust or less trust with the answer based upon that? Less, yep, exactly. And we can excuse our own behavior all the time. We can always say it's no big deal, I got busy, they'll understand. But it's all these little moments, whether we're building or breaking trust, that determine, are we really taking ownership of our outcomes? And even extreme ownership says that you can't even blame the weather, because if you have a variable such as weather within your decision or your work, that you have to understand that weather is a variable that you have to have contingency plans for. And so that's extreme ownership. It's owning every outcome, every decision. Thoroughness, back to details. It's that thoroughness to not just rush through something and say it's good enough. It's to do work, pause, look at it again. It's maybe running through the cycle again and saying is this really good? Hey, can you come take a look at this? I'm kind of unsure, I don't know what to do. Thoroughness is, hey, I know you mentioned that detail, but it's not really making sense to me. Can you show it to me again? It's not just assuming, it's making sure we understand. It's that final job walk, even when we think everything's good. It's literally being in the truck with your team ready to leave and be like, I'm just gonna walk the job one more time. I just wanna double check, make sure we got all the tape off and caution tapes up and stuff like that. I just wanna make sure it's good. It's a project leader saying, hey, can you take a look at this bid? I think I'm good, but I just wanna make sure it makes sense to you with a new set of eyes and it's good to go. That's what thoroughness requires. Communication, anything with a team is going to require other people. There's going to be other people involved. and communication is going to be part of being a relentless craftsman. You have to communicate with other involved parties. It could be something as simple as checking out with the client when you leave. It could be letting another trade know something when you're going to be done, but rarely is anything great done individually without communication. There's going to have to be some kind of communication to be a relentless craftsman. And then results. You have to perform. You have to win. We have to create wins for clients. With baseball or football, some of these sports, it is fun to play a sport. It's a lot more fun to win at said sport. And so what we want to do is create a results-oriented culture that produces. Customers, I promise you, none of those people care if we work really hard, if we do bad work for them. They don't really care if we work till 3 o'clock in the morning if it doesn't produce a result for them. They pay us for results, we promise results. And so that's what we have to deliver regardless of how much effort we put into it. Effort's good if it's moving towards results, but effort without results really has no value. And so we have to understand we work in an area where we need results. We expect it as customers, and our customers expect it from us as well. So we go through this process, intention, concentration, and completion. We've been through this cycle now. Mastery now says, all right, what's been at play here? What are the thinking concepts? How can I think differently now? Like, I got through this. I understand there's different ways to approach things, but what does mastery require? And the first one is compounding or 100x. So, Clark, I'm gonna give you an option. I can give you $1 million today, or I can give you a penny today, but tomorrow I'll double it to 2 pennies. The day after I'll double it to 4 pennies. The day after I'll give it 8 cents to 16 cents to 32 to 64 to $1.28 to $2.56. So by the 7th day, you only have $2.56. I'll keep doubling that for 30 days or the $1 million. Which one would you choose?
I have to choose the penny because that's like the trick question.
Yeah. This is the benefit of being my son. You already know the trick question. So you'd have to say no to the $1 million because that penny that doubles every day over 30 days ends up being over $5 million. You just have to wait 30 days for the compounding to happen. And those are the decisions we make every day compound. If we do good work for Notre Dame, which we did, they hire us for the alumni soccer stadium. Because we do good work here, Noah looked at another job with them. And then everybody on their facility team knows that, hey, if you need great epoxy floors, call this company called Dancer. And 5 years from now, we have 10 times more work at Notre Dame than we had before because it compounds, reputation carries. And then people are like, what is going on in Fort Wayne with this epoxy floor company? We've never had a business deliver floors so consistently for us. What an incredible opportunity. And it happens with people that want to work here too. We have a waiting list of people that want to work here because you tell your friends, hey, I work here, it's pretty good. We get to work on cool projects. We get breakfast every other month, and then they want to work here. And so Chelsea has more people to phone interview than she has time and capabilities. And what that allows us to do is pick the best of your friends to work here so that way you can do better work with them. And so all kinds of things in our life are compounding consistently. We also have this idea of a 100x. And so let's just say for the money example, I choose to save $1 today. And then tomorrow I decide to spend $1 instead of save $1. What happens is neither one seems like a big deal. And we'll use $10. I'll say I spend $10 on something today. It doesn't seem like a big deal. It's just $10. But and the other option is I save 10. Again, doesn't feel like much. It's a minor decision. And I play this thing out in my head. What's the compound result of doing that 100 times though? So something that doesn't seem like a big deal. I used to smoke cigarettes. And every once in a while, I have this desire to smoke a cigarette. And I think that if I smoked one cigarette, it probably wouldn't be that big a deal. But if I did it 100 times, all of a sudden, I might keep doing that all the time because my throat itches. I might smell like smoke every time I walk in here. Now my car smells like smoke. Now my wife asks me if I'm smoking cigarettes again. Like, it's just gonna be problem after problem. So one time, no big deal. 100 times, now we have an issue. But going back to this example of saving or spending $1, if I start saving, I don't really see any results. It kind of feels just like nothing. But all of a sudden it starts to grow and compound and get better and better. And if this is average, that feels pretty good. Like I made some progress. But the thing is, if I make the different decision that doesn't benefit me, what happens is at the beginning it feels very similar. It's like, why am I doing this? It's pointless. I don't see any net difference. But what happens is this great divide gets created. And it's not just the baseline up, it's actually the variance between, I would call this the drift and this the grow. Like that divide now, if I saved $10 a day for 30 days, I have $300. If I spent $10 a day for 30 days, I lost $300. So it's not just a $300 gain, it's actually a $600 difference between the two. And so that's a very different outcome in our lives when we play that 100x multiple across it. We have preferences. There's a samurai, his name is Miyamoto Musashi, and he was one of the last samurais in the 1600s. And he's the most badass samurai. He has over 60 confirmed battles, one-on-one battles. He was in 3 wars, and after his great samurai career, he retired in a cave and wrote a book called The Book of 5 Rings. And he says our preferences are very dangerous, and because we choose what's comfortable rather than what's the best outcome. So for him, he was a trained martial artist, a trained samurai in the long sword, in the short sword, in the regular samurai sword. He actually trained with farm weapons. That way, no matter the circumstance, no matter the battle, no matter what tool he had available, he knew that he would be undefeated, or he felt confident that he could pivot. And so when he would battle someone that would say like, well, the long sword's the best weapon, I've only traded with the long sword, he knew where their weakness was because they had their preferences in their one weapon. And the same thing can happen to us too. If, who's a good golfer? I was gonna use Tiger, but is he golfing still? Who do we got? Scotty Scheffler. So, Noah, you've been golfing, you've been getting pretty good?
I wouldn't say good.
You golf. You've walked a course before?
Yes.
Okay. So Noah and Scotty Scheffler are gonna go golfing together. We're gonna give Scotty Scheffler some garage set. We're just gonna give him, actually, I'm gonna go to a putt-putt course and give him a putter. And I'm gonna give Noah the best set of clubs in the world, whatever Scotty Scheffler uses on the PGA Tour. Who do we think will win against that match? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, he's going to win because he might have preferences at that elite level, but when it comes down to it, his skills and abilities are more powerful than the clubs he uses. He's a professional, he can use whatever is needed. So if you get onto a job site and that team only has Hiltis, you're like, I'm a Metabo guy, I can't edge today, not me. Like, that's where we know our preferences are getting in the way. But the same thing can happen in how we approach problems. We can say, well, that won't work, we've never done it like that before. Or you can't ever coat a floor that fast because you'll sacrifice quality. Or this is exactly how it has to be done. It's we get in our own thinking, our own preferred way to thinking that leads to our demise. And so we have to understand that our preferences can get in the way, and doing things as a relentless craftsman is going to require us to do hard and comfortable things or try things for the first time. Then we have root cause and second order consequences. And so these are somewhat related. And for me, one of the biggest impacts in my life is to choose not to drink. And so I would regularly find myself on a Friday morning with a headache because Thursday night was a good night to start the weekend, and so I felt like crap on Fridays. And so I would have to take Tylenol to deal with my headache. I'd have to be drinking a ton of water to try to rehydrate. And what I'm doing with Tylenol is I'm fixing a symptom. But when I think about, well, what's the root cause of this? Well, the root cause is 18 natty lights on Thursday night. And I recognize that that's the real issue. The Tylenol is not going to fix that. If I really want to solve the problem in my life, I actually have to stop calling Thursday Thirsty Thursday and just call it Thursday. But then I also played out these second order consequences of like, well, if that's the root cause, what are the second order consequences of this? I have the headache, that kind of sucks, but what's the other consequence? Well, all my friends saw me naked again. That wasn't good. I feel terrible. My work kind of sucks on Friday. My father-in-law has to tell me I have to get my stuff together or I can't date his daughter anymore. Today, that might look like my wife leaves me. I make terrible financial decisions in the business. And a couple years from now, instead of standing here teaching you guys see me downtown asking for a little help. And so I'm only a couple decisions away from doing something like this with bad decision making. And so we all have decisions to make every day that have second order consequences, and we have to recognize we're looking forward, what's the consequence of this decision played forward, but what's the root cause looking back so we can fix the problem rather than just fixing symptoms. And so becoming a relentless craftsman isn't a title, it's a posture, it's how you show up, it's how you think, it's how you finish. You know, others are gonna coast. Relentless craftsmanship is always gonna be putting in work. We gotta train both our hands and our minds. We're gonna work together as a team to accomplish that. And I think the best work is never gonna be done alone. And there's a pattern and a cycle to learn from that we can take something and get better and better. So if you want more opportunity, more trust, and more impact, day in, day out, we have to show up, we have to do the work, and that's how I think we build something that lasts, is together we have to say, we're gonna be relentless craftsmen, and we're gonna be hard to compete with. So that's the training, and we'll head to the daily boards for the shop.